How's it going, everyone? This is Anon. None of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Alright, so let me get everything started. It's been a couple days since I've seen you guys, so see who shows up. See who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. Since I've seen you guys, see who shows up. Alright. How's that now? Are we good? Is the thing done? Are we good? Okay, we'll try this again. And I'll probably just have to edit that out. So this is Anon. None of this is financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. Just us going over stocks and stuff like that. Alright, so we're good now. Good stuff. I'll just clip that out, I guess, when I'm done with the video. We'll figure it out. So, anywho, I have to log in with my QR code. Hold on, how do I do that? Discord. Log in with my QR code. Scan QR code. There we go. Check my phone. Yeah, that's me. Okay, cool. How's everyone doing? Wait till you hear that intro, a bit creepy. Yeah, sorry about that. What's up, Carl? What's up, Dramus? What's up, Tom? CJ? Sorry for the the rough start. Random's alive. Yeah, so let's go over that now. Because I did not have a chance. You wrote me that in the evening, and I've been with my family, so I'm getting a free second now, so I've got to do a whole bunch of catching up right now, because I know a bunch of people had written me different tickers. So, holy crap, don't scroll back on the video. Yeah, you didn't miss anything if you're coming in now. Just me having echo from, I think the last time we recorded it, we had an issue with, it wasn't an issue. I had DZ on, so we were using Zoom, and apparently it was fine when we were doing that, but if I'm doing it by myself, it creates a weird echo, so. What's up, Anon? ATER mid-August options is stacked. That happened recently? Let's take a look. Yeah, because I was looking at two things today. So I had some Revlon that I bought leaps for, and I cashed out with 120% on those. So I was really watching that pretty much the whole day, trying to make sure. I sold a couple at 80, 90%, up, and then I held on to the majority of them because I thought they had more room to pop. So I sold them at 100 and something percent, these things were basically just completely up, so I made some nice little change on those. But I was mainly watching that in the afternoon and DTC, because DTC is obviously, a bunch of people are trying to figure out what's going on with that. Let me see if any of the accounting people wrote me back. So I hit up, let's see, did anyone write me back? Maybe I gave them too much information. Yeah, nobody wrote me back. All right, let me pull up some options chains. I don't know. Wait, hold on a second. Sold REV at $6 calls for 500%. Yeah, nice. Congrats. I had them really deep in the money. I've had $250 and $3 calls on REV. And so my stuff was much, and they were like for like 2023, like December 2023 or something like crazy, like a year and a half out. I was being super safe on it. So I did not make as much as I could have, but, you know, I did make 100-something% on it. So I'm good with that. Okay, let's see. ATER mid-August options are stacked. I wouldn't say stacked. I mean, I would say there's obviously more open interest on August 19th than there has been in the past. So it's starting to fill up. But some of those are just people playing the earnings report. But yeah, there is a good amount of like $5 and $7.50s that are being bought up because they're like $20 a contract. Yeah, but I mean, you can already see there are people buying, you know, $5 puts, $7.50 puts. I'll pull it over so you guys can see. Yeah, but I mean, for Aterian right now, based off how dead it's been, yeah, it's definitely more than it has been. So I wouldn't go as far as saying it's stacked, but we'll say it's August 19th, 2022. Options. Okay. I'll pull it up for you guys here. All right. So hopefully you guys can see that. So these are people playing earnings, basically. So this is, I think, like, earnings are on the 8th, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, there are people playing, obviously, this, you know, the earnings maybe being a beat. And, you know, there's already people stacking up saying, okay, well, we'll start stacking our puts now. Could also be part of like spread options if they were perhaps buying a call and, you know, like they could be doing different, like, you know, techniques to basically like this range between 750 and like 250. Just basically, if they think it's going to stay within there, you can, you know, there's iron contours, butterflies, spread. There's all sorts of different types of like plays you can do with options to make money. So, but yeah, it's better than it was. I mean, the fact that there's over 1,000 contracts here, it's a good thing. Also gives them a reason to hold things now. So, hey, Anon, thoughts on these IPO plays? So, yeah, I mean, let's do this. Let's pull up HKD, right? So everyone wants to know what's going on with this thing. Like, this thing's been out of control for a while, right? It's brand new. It's just flying. Nobody knows what to make of this thing. You know, so somebody has said that, you know, this is the rumor, and this is obviously just a rumor, so this is not me, you know, but like, there may be Chinese investors trying to move money out of China, and they're doing it through some of these IPOs because, you know, and like, you know, there's lots of different ways of doing this, but basically you buy stuff on the American exchange, you know, the Wall Street, you know, like NASDAQ and all that stuff. Is this NASDAQ, I think? Let me see which they're with. HKD, and nobody knows much about it because they're like, oh, well, what is this, right? It's up over 1,000% from its IPO. It's a company metaverse play backed by Hong Kong conglomerates. Yeah, so to me, this may be people from Asia moving their money out, especially because if this is what I think it is, which is they're Chinese based, I think, right? Yeah, it's New York Stock Exchange. So, and this is just a thought, and I could be completely wrong on this, but if you are trying to basically move money out of China without raising too many flags, what can you do, right? So, yeah, I mean, literally, Chinese authorities are rolling tanks out to banks because Evergrande basically was a Ponzi scheme. Essentially, what they did was they took in money before they actually built houses, and now they're sitting there saying, we can't build these houses, we don't have enough money. And so the people that are screwed are all the investors who put their money in there, and they can't pull their money out of it. So essentially, yeah, it was just a big Ponzi scheme because at the end of the day, you paid for money for a house that you don't have. Just like you were in a Ponzi scheme, you were buying stocks that you don't actually have any value. So yeah. So yeah, China's actually got some pretty big issues that nobody seems to be talking about. So I think if you were, just the interesting theory, if you were to think about, okay, how do you how do you move money out being legitimate, being like, oh no, well, we're just investing in, this Chinese company, it just happens to be traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah, super interesting, right? So all of a sudden they can go, well, no, we think this stock's worth $1,000 a share. Their IPO started out at what, like $10, and then now is up that much. And what they're going to do is they're going to take their money out. So they're selling probably during these, who knows how much more this is going to run, but they're going to start selling, right? People are jumping on this thing going, well, I don't know what this thing is, but it doesn't stop moving up. So they'll, and then one day it will just start tanking, and these guys are going to pull out their money in cash, and then they're going to have money outside of China, sitting inside probably either Cayman or Swiss or even U.S. banks, and then China's banks are getting seized. Okay, well, no problem. Yeah, look at this right here. So this is tiny volume. So this stock moved up 85% today on no volume. All they're doing is just slapping the ask. Anytime anybody, wants it, just slap the ask, right? So they're pumping this stock up, and they want to basically start taking money out. Can it run more? Sure. I mean, as long as whoever's behind this is slapping that ask, they're just going to keep doing it until they get to a point where they're like, no, it's not going any further. We're going to probably just, And here's the thing, some people are buying this. Retail investors are like, oh, well, this must be a good company. No, it's moving up on very low volume. I haven't looked at the fundamentals behind it, but, we can do that if you guys want. All right, so let's take a look. Because I haven't even looked at some of these things. I'm I'm not touching that thing with an 8-foot pole. So 185 million shares outstanding. Is that right? Company's cash flow positive. They did an IPO. No, they did an IPO for. Let's see. Yeah, this thing's insane, that chart. So they had a pre-market cap of 1.4 billion. Okay. We got no filings, a couple of just prospectus supplements, notice of effectiveness. Here, I can bring this over so you guys can see. Yeah, I mean, this is basically, I'm guessing, some sort of way of laundering money out of China. That's just my guess. I mean, once again, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but that was just my initial thought was this looks like something weird going on. Yeah, there's really nothing here, representing 6.4 million Class A. So the IPO was 16 million. That was it. How many Class Bs? So the majority of them look like they're Class Bs. And the Class Bs could be like insiders. Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing, right? So there's lots and lots of money, right, sitting there in China. But like, literally, they can seize their assets. And people are like, well, isn't this risky? Like, perhaps, pumping it up this with the SEC watching. And I'm like, what's riskier? Like, being in a country where literally they can seize all your assets at any time? Because that's essentially the Communist National Party, right? Like, it's like your stuff is their stuff. So, if you've got billions of dollars in that country, is it any riskier rolling the dice with the SEC than it is to leave your money in your country when it can be taken? And, literally, I didn't make this up. Look at this. Cayman Islands. You can't make this stuff up, man. Like, once you understand, like, how all this stuff works, yeah. Cayman Islands, just like I said. Swiss or Caymans, that was my guess. All right, so... yeah. I don't know, but this seems pretty crazy right now, how much the stock has gone up. I cannot, and I haven't even seen the financials yet, but they gave them a yeah, there it is, Cayman Islands, linked to the British Virgin Islands. They're pumping money through this thing. All these different entities that have these, like, British and Chinese and, British Virgin Islands, they have, like, weird laws in the Caribbean. Imagine if you bought this IPO at like $10 and now you're up $700 a share. Jeez. $300 gain today. The other speculation is the Chinese government involved to prop up other net worth because of Evergrande. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. But they're doing it outside their own exchange, so... yeah. Hindsight's 22,000. Yeah. It is. But yeah, anyway, so that's one. I'm not touching that thing. All right. So what was the other one? So I think all these ones are going to be basically the same. Are these all, let's see. They had a 16% day IPO. It's only their second day, right? Trading. Let's see if there's any information for this one. And this one's got a tiny float. They've already started diluting, though, it looks like. I mean, this one looks a little, I'll show you. So smaller, obviously. Esports, blah, blah, blah. In the country of India, obviously a large population. So you see here on the 30th, they were at 16.81, and they've already moved up to 18.31. They're raising some money, it looks like. So initially they had an IPO, started at $4. What are they trading now? 20? Then down to 18. It hit a high of 20 and then down to... It closed, though, what, $12.98? Yeah. A pretty big rise. I mean, they've got plenty of cash now. Based off their cash burn, they don't spend that much, according to at least what they have here. But I'd have to look at their... Why is their stuff all from 14? What? Have they not had to file anything since 2014? That's weird. Yeah. Pending merger. September 2014? I'm sorry, hold on. Did I take like a crazy pill? Like, I feel like I'm... Hold on a second. Is that the old ticker? Okay, because I was like, I don't see anything on here except for... So maybe they linked the wrong thing. Yeah, they've got some sort of old ticker maybe. Mungo. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so this is obviously not the same one. Are they even a company? Looks like it. Investors. Nah, they must have gotten delisted or something. No, what's this? Right here, investor relations. They just announced pricing of $6 or $6 million IPO. Why didn't they have to file anything between 2014 and now? It's weird. Yeah, they don't have enough information on this one for me to do much, because none of this stuff's relevant. Like, literally all the filings are from 2014, so I don't have anything to look at really. So I'll stay away from that one also until I get to see the numbers and see what their financials look like. That pre-IPO hype 6 years later. I know, right? More than 6 years, right? 2014, it's 2022 right now. Turned to 2023, a couple months. All right. So people want... All right, random. I'll cover Bttx for you. Bttx. All right, so what is going on with this thing? All right, so here hit a high of what, like 20 something, and now it's like down to 2. Obviously, you've had some sort of change here. So, well, first off, it's gapped up. So, it's left a pretty sizable gap here in this area. So that to me looks a little dangerous off the bat. Hold on a second. All right. You know what I didn't do? Hold on a second. I never do this stuff right. Pretty bad YouTuber. It's like all the stuff you need to like turn on. I never do. All right, give me a second. Let me figure this out. Okay. So yeah, so let's see. So you got a gap here, all right? So between like was that 191 and roughly 167, there's a pretty big gap there. So for me, I mean, it obviously has momentum, but you've already crossed over on the daily RSI. So you're overbought right now. The volume did increase though, right? Did it? No, it actually didn't. Interesting. So what's going on with this thing? Let me see. let's take a look at... And it's a news gap. Clinical trials finished. I mean, did they win like some sort of big... It's still just trials, right? Alright, so tiny float. Healthcare, they've got about 6.6 months left of cash burn. So half a year. Low short interest. Float's pretty small though. Let's take a look at their balance sheet real quick. All right. Overall, that looks pretty healthy as far as like you've got a positive, shareholder equity. It's slightly worse numbers than last time, but if they win a contract or they've some sort of like clinical trials, that'll be money coming in. Their operating expenses did go up quite a bit. All right. Exercise of some common stock options. Yeah, that's not as healthy, but that's fine. It just... So they had 31.7 million and accumulated deficit of 81 million. We incurred a net loss of 9 million, used 8.9 million in cash operations last quarter. They've been historically successful in obtaining equity financing. There can be no assurances that such financing will be available under that. We believe we have sufficient capital to fund our operations into the first quarter of 2023. So there could be dilution coming, depending on how much they burn. They got basically half a year, it looks like. So. All right. Looks like they do have concurrent with execution, blah, 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 subscribed, and the MACD issued, sold aggregate of 5 million shares for a price of $10 a share for $50 million with PIPE. Okay. That already happened though, right? Yeah, that was back in the last year. So... my thoughts on so the M gang, whatever thing, there's not enough information there, to be honest with you. Here, just to wrap this up. So this would be fine. They have a tiny float, so it's going to move if retail gets in on them. Like, that's the honest truth. It will probably move just because, but I don't have any information, like, I don't have any holders, because it's only like literally 2 days old. And the filings for this thing aren't updated. All the stuff they have is from 2014. And like literally you go in here and it's dated for 2014. Like, you go down here and look at this. Like, so there's no real information that we can discern anything from. So if you want to like go in blind, that's that's a risk. For me, I look at that. Yeah, could it move? Sure, but at the same time, like, we don't know anything about this. Besides, it has a small float. I can't tell you if they're making money, losing money, no idea. If there's dilution right now, who knows? Like, this is essentially all the information we have. Is you go to investors and they announce the pricing of $6 million IPO here, but there's nothing else that we really have. Yeah, it's all about, so that's what I can tell you about the Mogo, the M Graham, whatever. I don't know anything about these guys, and there's not enough information for me to really give you guys anything else. Just because the filings I don't see yet. If somebody wants to dig into that, you're more than welcome to. You can pull up the filings through EGR if you want, but I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. Over to Bttx. So if the clinical trial goes like it looks like it's been doing, so the volumes died down like a lot. So we're still very low volume. It's still being pushed up. I don't know if they're trying to unlock something, and that's why they're doing it this way. But like, I don't think there's a ton of retail interest on this yet. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there's a sub that has a couple thousand people that all like it, but like, I don't know enough about this one to say that, this is like, their cash flow's pretty rough, and it shows right now that until they actually, like, if their product goes and it makes tons of money, then they're going to be fine. At this point right now, they're bleeding cash because they're like every sort of like biopharm tech, that's out there. They always lose money until they make it, especially small ones. So, what I can tell you is, for me, if I was looking to go long on them, I would wait for the scat fill. I don't know when it's going to be, but you're already overbought on the daily, so I would expect it to probably come down to fill these levels, but it does look like it's consolidated in this range for a long time. It kind of reminds me, honestly, about like Aterian, because it's been down here. It's had a couple little pops, and then it just basically consolidates down here at like the 150, 160 mark, roughly, like in this range, like 159. So like, that's probably where it likes hanging out. Like if you look, but yeah, like that's, for me, if I was going to go long on it, I'd be looking at this area to fill. And then I would probably look at, I'm guessing this is some sort of earnings on the 12th. So, or maybe there's some sort of significance to this question mark, but something's going to happen on this date. So the question is it going to try to run up and do stuff beforehand or not? Okay, let's do DTC real quick, because DTC has been something that I've been taking a look at pretty. Yeah, so DTC really didn't do much today. It basically just did a doji. Let me pull up real quick, because every time it hits this area, it's bouncing off of it. Like, it's getting pushed way back down. So I'm guessing the short interest is probably going to go up on this thing, because it looks like they're trying to keep the stock down, which makes it interesting, because there's a lot of institutional ownership on this stock. And I've told you guys for a while, I've been in on it waiting for this thing, because I think for like long term, buying it down the 3s and 4s, it's going to move up. It's going to be probably worth, $10, $12 someday. So it looks like the short interest did go up today. Borrowed shares has gone up significantly. Cost to borrow has risen slightly. It's like 5% up. Still not like quite there. So yeah, this is the weird thing, right? So I'll pull up. Let me see if I can pull up I saved all these. I pull up my thumb drive, because I brought it from work, knowing that I would have to talk to you guys probably about this stuff. Let me see if I can. Extra large icons. Okay, here we go. So let me bring these into... Let me open up a new folder real quick. Alright. New folder, go to downloads, and let me bring this stuff in. Okay. And we'll go through it together. So I basically screenshotted all of Fintel for you guys, so we can go over it. Because everyone wants to know how to get to number, and I want to know the same thing. How to get to number 3 on Fintel's short squeeze when it has like 20% short interest and like 30% utilization? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's go over it. So the one thing we know is APRN Asset Management, I think, sold, if I remember correctly. I think somebody, I think it was Brilliant in the Discord, basically had said that he thinks that on, and we can check it against Fintel. Let me just see if I can log in real quick. But it's one of the activist investors he thinks sold their position for like a giant loss, and like why that is, I don't quite know, because I do think that they will turn around at some point. Obviously, they, you know, I think their stuff was, and maybe it's just because they were liquidating across their, like, you know, I don't know much about APRN Asset Management, but my guess was they just decided, being inside some sort of retail at this point with the market bleeding the way it was probably not the way to go, and they withdrew and just locked in the loss. Let me pull up Fintel now, see if I can find that filing. Yeah, so DTC. Yeah, so insiders, maybe? Are they considered an insider? No, they're... Okay, let's see. Owners. All right, who here has Fintel? If anyone has Fintel, let's see. We're going to grab... How do I look at the latest filings? I want to see... All right, so shares... DTC. Here we go. They didn't sell every share, but they did sell a majority of their position. Okay, so let me bring this over so you guys can see this. So, if you go down here... So I had to look at them up by themselves, right? So they had bought in at 17, right there, right? Appreciate it, CJ. Thanks so much. Donating to the Blindside Memorial live stream. Appreciate it. All right. Yeah, see right here? This is your shares and percentage. They sold off, it looks like, 90% of them. So they have still 10% of their shares, but they sold off essentially, I think it was close to, here, 3 million, 2 million, something like that. Let's see. I guess that's what they have remaining. So they must have sold off about 2 point something million shares. Yeah. Okay. So that's why the stock had dropped down after it kind of moved up into the fives, it looks like. So you had to reduce these guys down pretty much, right? Because they used to own about 6% of the company, and now they probably own 0.0 something. The rest of the people I think are still holding. Those are the only ones I know that I think sold since the 13Fs were released. So if I'm on here, are we able to... Yeah. So if you look at the top partners here, Summit has 44 million shares. Bertram has 11 million. Neuberger has 6.8. And then these ones right here, I think are, I think they're all still in. But the ones that sold was, so I guess these are not, they already took off APRN or whatever. So they're already out. And it looks like these guys reduced some of their position down about 10%. This is 14%, 20%, 13%. They look like they sold a good amount, which was 70%. And then here's APRN now. So, so they went from up here down to here, where the APRN asset management, right? That's a pretty big loss to lock in. I don't know why they chose that, but obviously I don't know what their books look like, so maybe they needed to offset something, a huge gain. Maybe they needed to, there's lots of reasons why you would go ahead and lock in a loss like that, or they were just fearful. But insiders have been buying on this stock, right? So insiders here have been buying on DTC. So that's always a good sign when your CEO and your CFO are purchasing $100 million worth of shares. Not usually nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Officer accumulation. This is the top 60 out of 12,000 stocks that are watching. Top 20 for insider accumulation, ownership accumulation. They're just showing you basically insiders are buying on this. Here's retail. It looks like retail's starting to go up. Then here's the interesting part that everyone wants to understand. So you guys saw that the ownership on this was 44 million for the largest shareholder, which was, I think, who was it? It was it Bertram, or what was it called? No, Bertram was the second largest. I can go back and find it. Summit. Bertram's the next one. So they own 44 million. They own like almost 12 million. They own like almost 7 million. So right there, if you do add those numbers up, right, the stock only has 63 million Class A shares, but it does have Class B shares. So this is where everything kind of got convoluted with the stock, and that's why sometimes it was reporting like 500% short interest, because insiders own a ton of the stock. All right, so if you add it all up, if you look, like institutions right now are reporting 123% of the float. Yeah, and same thing with a REV. We can go over those two, Alan. I'll do REV as well. And I sold a lot of my REV today. I still held on to 4 contracts. They're both deep in the money at this point. I think it's like a $2.50 and a $3 call for 2023. So I'm still on in REV. I just took some profits today because, you make 100% profit in a day. That's not too shabby. So I left a couple as my flyers, and I can always assess. But like at this point right now, I locked in some gains, which is good. I paid for the entire position, and made profit on it. So that's a good play. But yeah, I still left a couple, out there. So if the thing flies to the moon and now is worth $25, $30, I have the right to buy it at $2.50 and $3 a share. So yeah, DTC basically owning, it's showing ownership higher. My guess is these are Class Bs. I started working out the float, but I contacted a bunch of accounting people, and none of them really were able to get back to me, unfortunately. Yeah, so here are your top, so you also have then, mutual funds who own the stock. They own like 1.8, as well as you have some of these guys here. These are for, I think, ETFs. Yeah, this is the ETF one. So ETFs own like 500,000 shares. REV is Revlon. And Revlon was going through a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but they're restructuring. Not every bankruptcy is like a death sentence. Sometimes you can restructure and things can go your way. In the meantime, you have to remember, though, REV has one thing there is a negative about it, which I've brought up before in the past. REV has an active ATM at this moment. So they have the ability to sell shares onto the market. So, and actually, if you think about this, the reason why you would want to pump the stock is because, like, if you're, for example, now it's not a huge ATM, but they do have the ability to raise right now. And they have a $75 million shelf that's registered right now, and they also have a April ATM that was 25 million. So that would be roughly about like 3 million shares, 2 point something million shares maybe. So here, if you want to look at it this way, yeah, you've got your ATM right here. So they are able to dilute and raise money with this. They don't really need the money, to be honest with you, but like, yeah. So right here, here's your shelf. So they have the ability to dilute at this point if they so choose. So just be aware that they have that going. I mean, GameStop diluted while it was squeezing also. So a lot of these companies will take advantage of the fact that someone's going to give them basically free money. So just keep that in the back of your mind. They do have the ability to raise and, extra cash off this, which is not going to be bad for a company that's literally going through a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So just throwing that out there, it can run. It can run really hard, really fast, or they can start diluting at any point and start bringing the stock back down. So I just want you guys to all be aware of that, as long as you're safe about it. All right, back to DTC. Yeah, so insiders, they are saying roughly about 34 million are owned, so they own half the float. And then institutions own, apparently, if you go back to this one, institutions own 78 million shares. So you do the math on that, right? So 78 plus... Where's the insider one? 78 plus 34 million. What did I say, 34? Is that right? Yeah, 34 million, roughly. That's 112 million shares that are being reported according to Fintel. Now, is there some that overlap? Probably. So that's what we have to figure out. That's kind of what I've been doing was today. I was trying to figure out the float, and the float's really confusing. So, because they have Class A's, but they also have Class B's. But they moved this up to number 3 on the short squeeze list, right? Well, here's the thing. Like, let's pull up Ortex, because according to Ortex, that doesn't make any sense. Yes. Look at this. So, utilization is down here at 32%. Cost to borrow is like 11%, right? The exchange reported, like, they think it's about 3 million shares, which is like 20% of the float. So how did it end up number 3 on Fintel, right? Oh, no, hold on. We got bots back. We have to... Do we have any mods in here? Thank you, mods. Somebody did it. Or I hope they did. Let's see. Do we get any... The bots are gone. Oh, thank you, Dirty. Good job. Thank you. All right, so back to this. So anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on for you guys. Obviously, they still have shares to borrow, and I don't think this thing's going to the moon anytime soon, but it's just an interesting, like what's going on with this thing. They were shorting it like 67% each day. You can do 2 messages per 5 seconds to stop that. Okay, Joey, tell me what I need to do, because I don't have any clue how any of this stuff works. I'm not I'm not YouTube savvy. I came on here to talk stocks. Let's see. Do I have to do something in the chat? Manage moderators, participants. Maybe go to participants. No. Toggle timestamps, pop out chat. Yeah, I don't know how to do all that. Is there like a automated filters? Oh wow. Oh my god. This is crazy. Paste your channel to add. So I have a lot of hidden users. Do you guys know what those are? Or what are hidden users? They are comments, chats from users that won't show up. You guys remember all those bots? You said REV is the next GME, bruh? Who said that? Oh, you guys on there. On the chat, you guys were saying. I was like, I didn't say that at all. Yeah, there are people going to be pumping on here. But yeah, just remember, listen to the words I'm saying. There is risk. You have to just know that. And as long as you're playing it safely, you're totally fine. But there is dilution on REV. You do. It's not a huge amount, but you have an ATM of 25 million and the shelf that they're able to raise another 75 million off of. So if they start really running, they may start issuing out, and that will control the price, unless retail just completely FOMOs in on it. But I think shorts are closing right now. To be honest with you, I think that's what the run is. So. REV will be the next bag holder emporium. I mean, they're not a I know they're going through Chapter 11, but overall, they're not the worst company I've seen as far as they do have cash flow. Yeah, so here's the news. So Revlon got approved for a 1.4 billion bankruptcy loan. Yeah, Rev makes a good amount of money, so. But I would imagine here. Yeah, BXXT, we've kind of talked a little bit about. I mean, it was up for a second, but it's going to be basically based off of, how that goes with the, I guess, the trials. But overall, there's a gap on that I'm worried about. So if I was waiting to enter, so if you're not in Bttx, right, for me, if I think the trial's going to go well, I would be looking at this gap right here. So you gapped up this day on probably the news, and it has not come down. But you're looking at this, your volume's dying down. So that's not usually a good sign. Usually at that point, you're just getting pumped up on low volume. That means somebody's slapping the ask. And if you notice, you're starting to decrease on the CCI at this point. So you can see the volume's completely dropped off after this initial move up. So this was good volume on that first day. And then since then, this has been low volume, but they're getting pushed up. Yeah, the clinical trials are completed. You tell me. random if you want to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going off of like TA slash, like what I saw, which was their balance sheet looks okay. It's not great. It's, it's not like this is a must buy, but like, this was Thursday, this is Friday, this is Monday, but they made a large move up on no volume, which worries me a little bit, especially when you have this gap down here. So, it can still move. Obviously, whoever's slapping the ass, they're continuing to slap it, but my question is why? Like, what is the reason that they're trying to push the stock up? That's what I want to know. Like, Better Therapeutics, what's the news? I guess, for me, there's something going on there. What's going on with it? It's 266 after hours. This gap, though, is down here. So until we get down to like the 160s, that's where, yeah. Yeah, I wish for you guys it went from here and went up all that in one day. When you gap up, that's like a recipe for like, oh, it's got to go fill this area of liquidity, unless they really have, they feel like they have enough liquidity there. But gaps tend to fill. That's all I can tell you. So you do whatever you want. Obviously, this is just me looking at it from an outside perspective because I don't know anything and I have no money involved in it. It looks interesting. It just, I don't know enough about, let's see. They develop software-based prescription digital therapeutics for treating diabetes, heart disease, metabolic conditions. It engages in developing a proprietary platform for FDA-regulated software-based for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and other conditions. They're based out of San Francisco. Negative earnings per share. Public float's about 7 million. 23 million shares outstanding. They have a small float, though, so it's going to move. So, yeah. we're not going to go into that, Lamar. Not even touching that. All right. So let's go back just to finish up on DTC. I will try to get more information tomorrow. I am really, there's something going on with the stock. They are clearly, though, trying to make sure this thing doesn't. Look at the last time it was up here. It got pushed back down. Once it hit basically over, it was like 5. It just, every time it goes over 5, they try to push it down real quickly. They had a quick run to 7, then they pushed it down. That was earnings. They ran up to like almost 6. They pushed it back down, all the way down to 3. Ran back up to 4, then pushed it down. And so they've been flirting with this $5 mark for a while. They're finally trying to break through. If you see volume increase, though, and it breaks through, it's going to pop probably. So it doesn't have, like, this is more of a liquidity play. I mean, it all depends on how many shares they have right now, because it looks like institutions own a ton of the stock. So, do you go live during the day? No, unfortunately, I have a full-time job, so I just come on here at the evening after I put my kids to bed, and my wife goes and watches TV, and I come down here and talk to you guys. Every once in a while, if I call out of sick work, I'll stream while I trade. But for the most part, I do have a full-time job. This isn't my full-time job. So I usually will just come on here, allow people to ask me questions, and we'll go over, kind of like general fundamentals and make sure there's no, booby traps. Dr. Jones, booby traps. So make sure there's no landmines on some of these stocks that you guys are looking at. Because obviously, like a lot of these small caps, there's always that risk of dilution, of so you got to watch out. If people are asking, like, should I invest in Apple? Then it's like, those aren't the people that are on this YouTube channel. Oh, that's gross, Lamar. Uh, Yeah, so just be careful of that one. DTC though, I will try to get some more information on this because something weird's going on in this stock. Like, so I did like a worst case scenario. Like, if you basically counted all the Class A and Class B shares together, I think I had came up with. All right. So this one right here we'll have to remove because that's it. But here's the deal, right? So if you add up both the Class A and Class B shares, you get 94 million, right? So, but these Class Bs are typically pretty much all insiders because the only people that have them are like Summit's got some of them, but they also have Class A shares as well. Summit has almost 30 million Class A shares, and they also have an additional 14 million Class B shares. You guys keep talking about not bringing it up. Not bringing it up. You guys mute that in the chat. It's gross. All right. So the last part of this is just going to be, if you added them up, basically, you took out the insiders, your float would be about 14 million, which basically lines up to what Ortex has, I think. We'll have to pull it up here. DTC. So on DTC, if you look, they have free float 14 million. So what I think they've done is they technically have put Class A's and Class B's together, which you don't normally see that, but like, a lot of these stocks don't deal with Class B shares. So like, I don't know if this is the proper way of doing it, but if you're combining both of them, then yeah, that would be about 14 million shares outstanding, which means that if you have about 3 million shares loaned out, or actually what would be the free, what's the loan right now? Shares on loan is around what, like? Yeah, so something's not, their numbers are weird. Okay, look at this. They're saying that they only loaned out 1.74 million shares, but yet the live short interest is 2.9 million. I don't know if Ortex has the right numbers, to be honest with you guys. Now, and their last interest, the last reported, SI right here from the official numbers was 3.4. So like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right at all. All right. Close some of these out. All right, let me see. Everything good? Yeah, the DT. Yeah, I've been looking at DTC now for months, and I've not completely figured out how the float works. As far as like, those don't normally kick my butt. This one's like I'm going to accountants now, and I'm going, okay, how do I read this? Because I've never seen anything like this before. As far as like, pull up, get all these closed. What is still? Something's still open. Let's see. Okay, let's see if I can open up a new window. Yeah, so I'll try to work it out tomorrow, and I'm seeing hopefully maybe some of these accounting guys will get back to me after they took a look at all the stuff I sent them. Spammed them, I should say. All right, what was the other ones we're covering? Get this stuff up. You guys are gross. All right, so a bunch of people trying to pump Rev on here. And look at this. So I think those are actually bots. Are there bots pumping Rev? Okay, Rev's going to go through dilution. That's what I can tell you right now. Mount St. Funk 9. Well, I'm an accountant and I have no idea how Vortex are supposed to work, and it never adds up. Yeah. When's the next optionality chat? We can have them on again this week if you guys want. You want to do it on like maybe Wednesday or Thursday? Because that's usually good to have like those guys on there. They've got a pretty good sense of what's going on in the market, obviously. And so yeah, if you guys want to do it again, we can do it. I didn't have anything planned out, but I can ask them. Okay, so we got two accountants in here, right? We got Mount St. Funk 9 and Jesse's studying to be an accountant. I'm Rev Bull, but not a bot. Onion News Network. I'm waiting for some more red eyes to pop in here and say, yeah, I'm not saying Rev can't run. I'm just telling you guys that Rev does have dilution, so you have to be careful of that. Once again, I said the same thing about Tough Belt. If you guys remember Tough Belt, I was like, listen, this thing can move. You just have to be aware that it does have dilution. And, it still moved up. It's still, up here, and that's great. It does have dilution, though. So, be aware. Rev does have, $100 million worth of dilution that they can offer at any point. They won the $1.4 billion, and I think this is just shorts covering. Personally, I think Rev is good, but I'm just saying, yeah. Yeah, the warrants, I think, are still at like $1.90. Yeah, once again, Rev is a totally different thing, but both of them have dilution on the table. But Rev had a nice pop. Like, that's a good amount of like volume today. They had a nice little pop. They got volume. They went from down here where it looked like this to basically like, it looks like shorts had a cover. That's what it looked like. They have some sort of, earnings. So if the earnings numbers are decent, they're going to have to close out a ton of, short positions, right? Because what's Rev's right now? Rev's short interest is roughly about 4 million shares. Is that about right? 100% utilization over the last May 24th. It looks like they went on 100% utilization. Cost to borrow is about roughly 390%, about 400 average. Yeah, so they've been paying a lot to do this. Now, their short interest did go down somewhat, which is interesting. It went from 5.6. I should show you guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, you went from 5.68 million, which was actually more than the free float, down to 4.69 million. But yeah, they were holding this short position. It looks to me though that they are starting to close, but we'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow, really, because I don't trust these Vortex numbers. But I would be curious to see what happens the next day or two with this stock, because if they get retail FOMOing in on them, then that's going to be a different story. But they had a nice short squeeze score. Yeah, I believe it's like 70 something percent. Yeah, 79%. That's what I think Finto had. Pumping and dumping simultaneously on red. Yeah, I mean, they're going to run it up. Like, if they're really having to close 4 million shares on a stock that doesn't have a whole lot of liquidity, they're gonna, they're gonna shake it back and forth. So we'll see what happens on this thing. But yeah, I mean, I made a lot of money today on it, and it felt good. Can it still run? Absolutely. I still have some shares. Or not shares, but I have 4 contracts left, so I have $400 or 400 shares right now, technically, that I can buy at $2.50 and $3 a share. So I left those ones alone. I'm going to keep them, but I'm going to watch the stock and see what happens to the volume. So, hello, it's me, Uncle Abe. Rev is going to 50. Trust me, I went to college. And you changed your... That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I know what payment for order flow is. There is a different type of trading called order flow trading. Yeah. Yeah, Angel, but yeah, they've got great numbers. Like, they look like they are primed for a nice squeeze. Especially, all it's going to depend though on the filings and how everything goes with bankruptcy with REV. So that's where I'm most curious to see what ends up happening, because I'm going to have to read through those filings if we're going to figure out if it's. Let me see right now. I don't think they do. Do they have any filings up? From this 1.4 million. All right. Did anything come out today? August. Yeah, the only thing they had was they pushed out something saying that they basically weren't able to report on time, and they had some sort of amendment on it. But like, that's the last thing I saw from the company as far as filings. So until we get the other numbers, I'm just going to assume that everything's still in place with the ATM and the shelf. But yeah, if you're in on REV, congratulations. I made a lot of money on it, and I feel good about it, and I still have a couple more hanging out. So after we sell ATER at 7, let's buy lots of hood mooning hard soon. Oh my god, do you remember those bots telling us all to buy hood? What I thought was creepy was when I went to that chat thing, and maybe somebody can walk me through how to do the managing how many messages you can send in a row. I don't know how to do that because I am a boomer, apparently, that doesn't know how to do any of this technology stuff. I don't know, clicked on one of the porn bot things. Yeah, is it weird to you guys? Is it weird, like seeing some people in here pumping REV? Kind of reminds me of when we were running with Aterian, they were telling us to sell. In this case, it's like the opposite. It's like, oh no, buy to the moon. Like, okay. And on Aterian earnings expected after Amazon. Shopify good earnings. Yeah. No, Manuel, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that, like, once again, I covered this earlier in the video, but yeah, REV can definitely go over $10. That is definitely a possibility. Like, if you look in its past, you had highs up here at like 15 a share, like 17 a share a couple of months ago. That was about 2 years ago. So yeah, like, you've got plenty of room to move. The biggest thing for them is going to be how the the filings break down, and just to know that there's $100 million of dilution that is available for them. So, yeah. Once again, all right. So let's go into Aterian because people want to talk about that too. Okay. So let's go to Aterian. So yeah, you want to talk about, for example, all right, so earnings is coming up, right? REV is a good purchase, and guys, remember, dilution is a good thing. It means the company is diluting their money and giving it to you. The Alpha Chad, you got a good sense of humor. Yeah, remember DRS your GameStop shares. Okay, so let me do Aterian first real quick because I know a couple of people have been asking about that for a while. Yeah, so here's the deal, right? On earnings, we don't know what it's going to look like. The biggest thing that we're expecting is, so far they've disappointed on earnings pretty much since the last three, I think. Let me just double check. Some of them were like not as bad as what everyone was expecting, so you could consider that a beat. But like they haven't had like a positive like earnings per share. They haven't had like they had one that was a full on beat, which actually funding if you actually, I guess it all depends on your sense of humor. But back here where they had the big gap down. See if I can find it. Is this up to? This is right before the run, right? This right here. This was the earnings call, and they actually beat on this earnings call. Like they beat like all their projections. Earnings per share still was negative, but they like beat on all their projections. Yet the stock gapped down from $8 all the way down to $5, $3 a loss that day. They pushed the stock down. They gapped down like. Everybody's freaking out. The stock went down to 304, and then it ran up to 20. So, fast forward down here. We're sitting down here in the 220s right now. 235 is what we closed at. Right here was your... Let me just zoom out a little bit. All right, so everybody right now, if you look at this... The majority of people's positions are up here in these ranges, right? So most people are not profitable in this stock. In fact, the majority of people are not profitable. Most people don't have an average down the twos. So the majority of people right now have averages that are up here, like in this range, right? But here's the thing. For them to unlock the warrants on Aterian, they need to push up the stock to minimum 320, right, which is up here. So if you look at this though, but if you're going to dilute about 7 million shares roughly, you need to push the price probably even higher to like more like these levels. So like I could see, for example, them trying to really just push hard up on the stock. They've got one of two things they can do. They can either run it beforehand, and then that way, when the earnings comes out, they're able to, they can unlock these warrants, though. They can't unlock them until September, what was it? September 8th? Was that right? Let me see. The warrants are for... It was for 6 months after... So roughly like the September 7th, September 8th or something like that. They can, I think, at that point, they can get into the warrants. They're exercisable 6 months after the 4th. Do they have a certain point to run it up and to unlock the warrants? Warrants can technically be unlocked at 320, which is up here. So for them to even just touch any of the dilutive warrants, they have to be up here. But if you're going to be diluting, right, and getting some like of the shares out, you would have to push the stock price up higher, because as soon as you start diluting at 320, you would drop out and then you can't dilute anymore. So yeah, diluter's going to. I don't give financial advice. I'm just talking about like how things work. So in this case, you're going to see, at least for them to dilute the stock, they need to push the price up to a minimum of 320 just to start unlocking those. And sure, they could hover it around just 320, but every single time they sell some, they're basically pushing the stock price down, which means that that's probably not going to work for them. So the smarter thing to do for them would be to do another push up, where they would push up maybe into like the 5s, and then at that point, it's safer to dilute there. So September 28th, it could be. Yeah. This is what it's listed as, if you want to see. So the pipe warrants right here, the March pipe warrants, are exercisable in 6 months. They registered them on the 4th of March. So 6 months after that would be roughly 9/4 technically. So anytime after 9/4. Yeah, like September 4th, technically, they're eligible. But yeah, so when people freak out when the share price is down here, I'm like, well, for them to even touch their warrants, they have to get the price up above 320. So if you know that they're going to go try to get their warrants at some point, it could be, a couple more months with this, who knows. But what you would likely see, though, is a push up to that level, maybe like 4, 5, 6, to just if they're going to be diluting. So it's going to go up again. The question is when. But yeah, they can't start touching those warrants, though, until at least probably around here. So I could see a run between now and roughly that date at some point for Aterian. Now, if they beat on earnings, obviously they're going to fly, because there's still dilution coming. So, but that's a good reason why they would push the stock price up. And then at that point, Armistice Capital owns basically 10% of the company. Because at this point right now, if you look, they already own 8% of the company. They can unlock a couple million more shares, probably even make some money off of them. So, but yeah, the stock will move again at some point, just because you're looking at them having to get up to here just to unlock warrants, and the safer thing to do when doing it would be to bring it even higher than that, so when you start diluting, it can naturally fade down. Do they have incentive not to seek out those warrants? I mean, it's just ownership of the company. They already own 8% of the company at this point right now. So obviously it gives them control. That could be both long and short. If we don't know. We don't know Armistice, the end goal here. Are they short Aterian and became their largest, holder because they're trying to basically maintain 10% of the company so they can basically maintain control? Maybe. Who knows? We don't know right now Armistice end goal. Because if Aterian turns around, then they own 10% of a company that's doing all of a sudden much better than they were. So for my guess, because I'm guessing they're a hedge fund, we established this, right? They do acquisitions and mergers, and they're a hedge fund as well, right? They're a global long-short value-oriented company. So they do both long-short, They also have they lend money out as well. So but as far as those go, yeah, we don't know right now what their intention is, but it doesn't really matter, because for them to even touch those things, they have to get it up here. So I personally, I'm not worried about I can sit down here as long as it takes. At some point, I know they're going back up in this range, so There you go. Yeah, they're an institutional buyer. In this case, they're not a strategic partner, so they can sell at any point. But if you own 10% of a company, you probably want to make some money on it, right? So you would push it up higher so you can get out, if that's what you want to do. If you're not long the company. But in this case, it looks like they've taken a long position in the company as of, their filings. So if you look at their filings, they own 5.2 million shares right now, and they don't have a reported short position against them. So, yeah, I mean, leaps are always a good thing. I have Aterian 2024 leaps at 150. I've got a good amount of them. So, BBBY. They're coming up here against this. Now, if you look at this, I drew this out before, you'll notice there's a perfect line of where it bounced before, went back down, and we're coming up on it again. So what's going to happen there? Are we going to bounce off this area tomorrow or the next day? But they had a nice day today. I mean, it wasn't a ton of volume, but... So do you personally think they'll get the price above that in September? No, they don't have to do it right then. Like, they might actually just wait it out to see what happens. I mean, they were the ones that lent basically money to Aterian. So they did a private placement with them. So they felt comfortable enough with lending their money to Aterian to keep, things going, and in exchange for shares of their company. That's what a private placement is. So usually you wouldn't do that to a stock that you're going short on. I mean, stranger things have happened in the market, but in this case, you would think at this point that they would probably want the company to succeed if they've got 10% of their shares in warrants, and they already have 8 million shares. So they have 5 million shares, which is worth 8% of the company. They don't want to go over 10% though. So you're saying I should borrow from a loan shark to buy as many shares as possible? No, I'm not. I think you guys should be responsible and do what you want with your money. None of this is financial advice. So, but yeah, they can run it up at any point. But at some point they do this. Pretty much every one of them do. All right. Yeah, bounce there. Interesting line too. What price is that? Let's see. I want that. I want price level. Let's do it like that. Here's, yeah. Just going back in the past, taking a look. All right. August will be the OG's anniversary with ATER. Yeah, people will be on it for at least a year. For some of you guys, this is going to become a long-term investment. You don't have to pay capital gains as much. Or in this case... September for me, homie. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm curious to see what's going to happen. So, look, this is the biggest thing right here. BBBY, this is a gap, right? So we have not filled this gap yet. We've came close up here, but we still have to go up to roughly, 634 to fill that gap. So I think at some point we're going to go back and fill that. So, for some people, if you want to play the gap, there seems to be a nice swing upwards on this stuff. and that gap will fill at some point. So the smart thing to do was when it was down here at like 4 was to pile in knowing that there's going to be a gap to fill up here at 6. So I'll have to pay crap ton of capital gains, sadly. Yeah. It all depends on how long you've been in. Alright, so what other ones do we want to cover? Was there something? Oh, SPXU, right? Some people wanted SPXU. Alright, so there's not a whole lot to talk about. Basically, this is just inverse, right? So when the market goes up, right, this goes down. When the market goes down, this goes up. But it's leveraged 3 times, or 2.5. I don't remember which one, but let's see. SPXU leverage is... That's an ad. Is it 3? 3x maybe? Let's see. Yeah, it's 3x for a single day. So when, obviously this was when the market was going up. You had a day here where it started down, but it started going up at the end of the day because the market was crashing. Well, it wasn't crashing, but it was going down, right? So if you look inversely at the SPY, the market had been going up 3 days in a row, and the market had a down day here. Therefore, that's the inverse is SPXU. So there's not like a whole lot to talk about. There's theta decay on this thing, and that's why it's not like if it runs hard and fast, then you'll make a lot of money on it. If it's a slow bleed, then you're going to bleed out on theta and also on direction because it's 3x. So when it goes down hard, right? This is something that will bounce from between 20 and 10, right? And it will slowly decay if the market's going up. But if the market's flying down, this thing will fly up. So if you have December, you still have a good amount of theta, but you are dealing with theta decay naturally on it. So just wanted to let you guys know. Yeah, we just covered BBBY. I see the buy shorts webpage. It states 14 million. Okay, you just want to go over the numbers on BBBY? Okay, we can do that real quick. Here it is. Bed Bath & Beyond. Here we go. BlackRock still owns about 19.5 of them. Vanguard, FMR, State Street. Here are your filings. So if we do a Control F, shares outstanding. So about, looks like 80 million roughly shares outstanding. Let's see if that matches up to Ortex. All right, so BBBY, BBBY. All right, so right now about 43.82% of the free float is shorted, about 30 million shares. Cost to borrow is still very low. But yeah, it jumped from 21 million all the way up to 28 million when they missed on earnings. So they just hit 100% utilization a couple days ago, and they're still up there. So this will be interesting now to see what happens with this. Shares on loan has gone up. You're looking at, it's not on the threshold list yet. FTDs are spiking though, so that is something to keep an eye on. A lot of shares have been lent out. A lot of puts on there right now, but that's starting to come up a little bit. Exchange reported data is going up. Cost to borrow is actually rising. It's slow, but it is rising. So yeah, I mean the numbers are looking okay. Yeah, that's the highest number they've ever had in the past. So they had 3.15 million shares not report in a single day. Okay, Omar wants to look at BHC. Yeah, we can take a look at that. And also, is that Smile Direct Club? Smile. I remember when that was being pumped. Give me a second. All right, so is this what you're looking for? Who was it that wanted this? It was Green, right? Green-Eyed Bandit Elixir. Bye-bye Shorts webpage. It states, let's see. The free float for this stock is, let's see, it's saying 70 million. So 70 million is the free float. It says shares outstanding is 80 million. We confirm that here, right there, 79.9. 79 may have 6, but you know, Ortex is always wrong. Yeah, so if you've got basically, what did we say it was? 70 million was the free float. That means that 30-something million were already shorted so far, and yeah, it's not 14 million shares. I can tell you that right now. Like they have 7. So you can only, your free float basically is when you take out insiders and strategic partners, and then like some of the institutions that are long. Like that's what your free float essentially is. So if you have 70 million for your free float, it's not 14. So. All right, where are we? All right, I'm going to quickly do a couple of these just so you guys know, because I don't think we've covered Smile Direct before. So let's really quickly just nail that one out. I haven't seen that stock in a while, to be honest, so my guess would be you're probably just holding it. Yeah, the float's huge on it. They really diluted the crap out of it. So they've got a cash burn right now of 61 million, and they have about 60 million left in cash. So they've got about 3 months left, a quarter left of cash before they need to dilute again. They've got 40 million in convertible notes, which would raise them up to about 430 roughly. For shares outstanding, which means that those exercise prices on the warrants are at 7. Yeah, they did not take care of their shareholders in that case. Like these guys, I think were diluting, and that's why they needed to pump the stock. But they have been shorted for a long time. I will give them that. February 8th. It gets added to the club. I need to add these guys to the club. Hold on a second. Smell Direct Club. You're getting added to my famous February 8th club. Okay. Sorry, I'm just adding this real quick. So I kept track of all these different tickers that all went on 100% utilization as of February 8th. And now you get to get added. Smell Direct Club. They're currently 100%. February 8th. I'll take a look, see how they're doing. And this is what, Reg Show? I don't think they're on Reg Show. Let's take a look. All right, so are they on Reg Show? No, they haven't been on Reg Show in a while. Okay. Not on Reg Show. And then they do have an X here, and their short squeeze score is 91.42. Yeah, so these guys have been short for a long... Look at this stuff. Like, your utilization has been basically locked up here for a long time, right? The only reason it dipped down here was probably because of dilution, because they were diluting during this time, is my guess. And then they've been basically pinned up here. You're starting to see little pockets of, like, you know, it'll pop up in a little bit, but cost to borrow on this, they've been doing this for a while. Yeah, I mean, it was at one point like 30% short, 40%, 50% short. And they did squeeze back here. And then it came back down. And it will probably run again, is what I can tell you. Yeah, so Small Direct is part of that. What's up, Hustle? Just saw you. I'm going through, but yeah, we'll do BHC after this. But I did say I would take a look real quick at this one. BHC is... This is a biotech, pharmaceutical biotech, yeah. Okay, so these guys fell off a cliff the last 2 days. So what's the news here? Tell me why I'm looking at this thing. So these guys were flying high back here, right? I don't know, was this an IPO or something? Or no, it was just So they had a nice run up here, and since then they basically have just been chopping and then fell off a cliff. Gap is here at 12. Yeah, I'm getting tired. All right, so but yes, so there's a pretty sizable gap here. So I would be looking at this. Watch for, let's see what the RSI and all that stuff looks like on this thing. BHC. Was there any huge news? But, I mean, this thing's oversold. I mean, you can look at this entire range right here. This entire range from basically here all the way to here, the thing was oversold, right? And that was probably based off earnings, but they left a pretty sizable gap here, right? And there's another earnings coming up here. They're trying to push it down again for the earnings. What do these guys look like for short interest? I'm curious. 16 million shares short, which is about 5% of the float. Cost to borrow is nothing, though. No utilization lock. Yeah, these guys are just getting beat down naturally. I mean, they're using shorts, but, like, not a ton. Yeah, Smile Direct has a gap around 5. Yeah, I think Smile will take a run again, to be honest with you. Just eyeing the chart like that, I think the biggest issue with Smile is they have so many shares outstanding that it's hard to see those run, because all of a sudden your market cap fluctuates, like, even just when you go up a couple pennies, all of a sudden you're up like hundreds of thousands of dollars on market cap. So, yeah. So I see that gap there. That's what I would probably be playing, but I would like to see on this thing, I want to see the crossover. So on MACD, I want to see the MACD crossover. It still looks like it has some more room to run down, to be honest with you. I mean, like, every indicator is basically pointing down. So unless it all of a sudden just hits out of nowhere and just comes spiking back up, I'm looking at this. Your TTM is going down right now. Your Awesome has crossed over to the negative. Your CCI is starting to come up, but it went huge. That was a pretty big, push down. There must have been some sort of news or something. And that made the MACD crossover and the RSI to go into oversold. So I would probably take a look. I would be playing it for the scat fill if that was me. But I'd have to see how their earnings goes, because I don't know a ton about the stock. But you can add to the watch list this one and a couple others. All right. Was there anything else I needed to cover? I think that was pretty much it. Everybody good? All right. It's 11:30. I'm going to head out. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. We do this pretty much every night, especially during the market hours. I'm tired. Let me see if I can get the link to the Discord. But I did add Smile Direct Club to the 100% Club, so that'll be fun. And let's see. My dog's barking at me. What do you want? Shh. Don't wake the kids, Dick. Yeah, don't wake up the kids. What? Do you guys want to hear my dog? Here. You want to come up and say hi, Charlie? Yeah. That's just really me, heavy breathing. I'm replaying the ATER part. How do we know that Armistice isn't pushing the price down to get more shares and push the warrants up? Yeah, I mean, they can. That's what I was saying, basically, was we don't know right now, because they have control, obviously. Like, this is Aterian's a tiny market cap. They are a large institution that owns 10% of it. Could they be leveraging, just pushing the stock up and down? Yeah, they're a little piggy bank. They could absolutely be doing that. So, yeah. And part of me was thinking about it the other week, which was, we thought that the shorts were being squoze, I guess, a couple months ago. And then just on the turn of a dime at 7, they just basically pushed it right back down. And so the question was, were they the ones that actually were pushing the stock price up, because they want to unlock their own stuff? So, did I talk to the programmers about that idea? Yeah, so the programs are expensive, apparently. So we've not really done a whole lot yet with the visualization thing. I'm basically have to bare bones it for now until we figure out kind of a better plan going forward. But yeah, eventually the goal would be to start visualizing some of this stuff in the way that retail can read it better. And I know, Random, you sent me some ideas about that. Yeah.
we'll have to put it on hold for now. But maybe if one of these plays pops off, get enough money to maybe throw some money at a programmer and see if we can start something up. My biggest goal, I'd love to be able to just create a tool that makes things a lot simpler for retail, like combine all these tools into one place. Like instead of me having to go through Dilution Tracker, me having to go through Fintel, Ortex, just have everything in one place where I can just like know where everything is, so the dangers, like at a quick glance, like all these different like aspects of a company, grouped together different, analyst ratings and this, they already have stuff like that, but I think there's aspects that are great about Ortex, but there's others that some of the stuff's not great. Some of their information is not right, and they struggle with that at times. So like, I feel like everyone does something really well, or like a couple things really well, but nobody's got like everything in one place. That's why so many people need so many different types of subscriptions. Like, I've got like 6 subscriptions to different like services. It costs like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, for all these things. That's where all the money from like basically the last run up when the Patreon started, I basically just bought Ortex, Fintel, like all these different like things. So anyway, what a good boy, right? Yeah, he went upstairs. I think he heard the food being poured. All right. Yeah, so I was trying to get the Discord link. Sorry, I'm tired. All right. I got it. Here we go. Invite. So anyone's free to join us. If you've never hung out with us before, you can join the free Discord. We just talk about stocks in there. It is free. There's no strings attached. Like I have educational resources in there as well. I think I showed you guys last time. There's literally a section where I left a whole bunch of like free e-trade books. Like it's in. I'll bring it over so you guys can see it again. But if you go to fundamentals under market education inside the Discord, if you go to fundamentals, I saw it a second ago. Fundamentals, and just scroll all the way to the top, or you can read the pinned message. If you go to that Google Drive, there's a ton of like free books and and everything's free, so you can just have it. If you want to do technical analysis, here's your volatility VIX stuff. If you want to read about that, trading the VIX, risk management. You want to know what hedge funds do? Market 101. There's stocks for dummies, day trading, futures, long-term investments. Yeah, Buffett's got books in there. You'll see there's quite a few of them. So don't even read that one. As soon as Donkey Post that porn bots hits us up. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so the Discord link's in there. If you want to come join us, it's free. Come hang out. Hit me up on there. But I'm going to log off for the night, and you guys have a great evening. All right, have a good one.